I'm with Cornwall, Ontario City Councillor Andre Rivette. Andre, you're, I believe, the second longest tenured council member right now after Dennis Carr.
Yes, I am.
Now, you just gave an interview with Greg Kellick from the Le Journal newspaper, and you used a very, very large number in $1.4 million to talk about legal fees and settlement fees on people like Diane Shea and Donna DeRoshi and all the other ones there. Can you clarify that a little bit for the viewers?
Well, from my sitting in meetings and looking at the costs and things that occurred, I think my $1.4 million number is pretty close.
Now, I've written that Paul Fitzpatrick is the $1 million man. You're using a number of 1.4 million. For people that don't quite understand the structure, essentially Paul Fitzpatrick is, I think we were talking before, the employee of council. He's the only city management person that you directly interact with, correct?
That's right.
So that's where the buck stops.
That's right.
Or the 1.4 million bucks stop.
All other decisions are made by the CAO.
So ultimately, would it be reasonable to say that your number of $1.4 million is on Mr. Fitzpatrick's head?
Well,
or is he responsible for that money?
Well, I'm responsible for the money. I think the buck stops there. He is the one that makes the decision to spend the money. Council, he's council got questions, they will ask him about them, and we make decisions on what needs to be done. But if anybody goes to arbitration or settlements, he comes and brings the council and asks council's support for doing it. But a number of occasions I brought different issues up, and I was told that it's my decision, it's my level of responsibility, and therefore it's going to go this way.
So when there's an official issue, you have to go through Mr. Fitzpatrick. You can't directly just knock on a city employee's door.
No, that's right. I mean, if it's a manager, if this is my style is, if there's a complaint received, I will try to go directly to the source. I think that go through Mr. Fitzpatrick and then wait for call somebody else. Maybe it's because I was in the system before as a parks landscape supervisor. I'm aware of where the responsibilities lie, and therefore the managers are very cooperative. I call and 90% of the time, 99% of the time, to solve the problem.
Now, how many years have you been a city councillor in Cornwall?
11 years.
That's a long time.
It's a long time. 17 years working with the city and 11 years as a councillor.
How would you portray this past year as far as a difficulty rating or a frustration rating compared to all the other years you've been a councillor?
I'd have to say it's been one of the toughest. I think that it's very been frustrating over all these issues coming down, and again, when decisions are made in the system, you could be screaming on the end of a corner pit in a second if you've lost 6-5 or 7-5 or 8-5. That's the way it works. You have to take the responsibility of the decision of council, and I find that with these matters we've had over the last year, very hard to deal with because of everybody's being painted with the same brush. Well,
isn't that fair though? I mean, ultimately council makes a joint decision. It's not one councillor that makes it.
That's right, but when it's you get recorded votes in open session, you don't get recorded votes in closed session when you're dealing with personnel issues or other issues. So you don't really know who voted for and who voted against.
Do you think there have been times where management has failed council and not given them enough information to make good decisions?
Well, I think some of the information was not given at the correct time. I think that some of the information, and I think you're going to see it. I know there's a couple of frustrated councillors right now that's received some information that information should have been given to council back in January. It is not a good scenario. It's not a good situation. It's very hard to have to continue pulling at things to get the information you need.
And to make any changes, in other words, in Faye Brunning's article, she mentioned out of the 3 city managers involved in the Diane Shea case, there's only one left, and that one is Mr. Fitzpatrick. Nothing can happen to Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Mr. Fitzpatrick is not a manager, he's a CAO.
CAO, but well, in her article she referred to him as a manager. But nothing can happen to Mr. Fitzpatrick's position unless there's a vote of council, correct?
Well, I mean, that's Paul or Mr. Fitzpatrick works for council, and council is the one who decides what they want to do with it.
So that would, in a 10-person council, that would take 6 people to actually affect a change.
10 and 1, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the mayor.
I'm not saying that's, all I'm saying is that's what it takes. I mean,
Right.
I don't want to be.
No, I'm
words
not.
in anybody's
I
mouth
don't.
here.
I'm not trying to put any words in your mouth, and I'm not alluding that. I'm trying to stay away from specific questions. But when someone of your experience and reputation makes a statement of $1.4 million, that's going to, besides the tax increase of 2% to Cornwall residents and businesses, you're going to have cuts as well this year, aren't you?
Yep, and I will not support nothing but a 0, because they're going to have to find a way to get that 1.7, even if they have to go to working reserves and pull $1 million out of there. They're going to learn that they just can't do those things and just dump it on the taxpayer. It is not right. I can tell you, as a fixed income citizen, times can be tough sometimes, and I think that it's. I don't feel that the taxpayer out there should be absorbing any more of this. They pay their taxes when there's a mistake made or mistakes made. I think it's they shouldn't be having to hold a bag for it or take food off their kids' tables to pay somebody else's mistakes.
What could $1.4 million in Cornwall, Ontario buy?
1.4 probably buy about close to 3% increase in taxes.
Or reduction in taxes?
Well, it's going to cost you 3% more. That's what it costs you. But if you take it out of there, it would basically roughly close. I think it's about 14 something is the 3%. I think it's about 500,000 per percentage.
I was talking with a local businessman, and he was saying it's very scary in that economic development and City Hall have made some very bold statements about the amount of investment in Cornwall in the last year. And he said, could you imagine the condition we'd be if this stuff happened and we didn't have growth in Cornwall? And we're not always going to have that kind of growth. And can we afford to fritter away, whether it's 200,000, $500,000, $1 million, as I've referenced, or you now with 1.4 million, for situations like these?
Well, I think that, as I said, the working reserves, there's dollars there. I know it's not that, some of the councils would like to have a bigger working reserve, and so do I agree. But I don't agree that the taxpayer should pick up the cost for this stuff. And I think that, okay, we're going to get next year. We know we're going to have increase in assessments with some of the new larger buildings. While that increase of assessments, what you've done is you can repay the dollars that you spent this year to the working reserves, or just continue having it lower the taxes with next year. But the bottom line is that $1.4 million that I'm suggesting is there. And if it's not there, I prove me wrong. That's what I'm saying. If administration or mayor or whoever it is saying I'm wrong, show me the numbers, because I'm very, very confident that I'm close, if not short.
We put in a submission for information to the city. We asked for a global sum. We didn't ask for specific individuals. We didn't ask for how many cases. We weren't worried or focused on breaking people's privacy. We were trying to get a number similar to the number that you've just expressed. Do you feel that the city should be more transparent and open with the public and the media?
I say it all the time. Be more transparent. I think it's their money. It's their dollars. It's their money. They should be more transparent. When you got nothing to hide, you don't need to try to hide it. And I think that it's very important that the taxpayers people are held accountable for the taxpayers' dollars. And I think that the only way you can do that is be transparent. And on a number of occasions I've pointed that out, that I want transparency in all these settlements that we had. As far as, and again, this is my own personal. This is not council. This is not. This is my own personal information that I'm putting out there. That I feel that it's $1.4 million. This is not in some book or something. I know what we spent, and it would be very close to what we spent.
That would include legal fees as well.
You got her. Yeah.
So we're talking legal fees. We're talking actual settlements. We're talking, the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah.
All right, and Councillor Rivette, I'm going to give you the last word to our viewers, and I thank you for your time now.
Well, the only thing I can assure the viewers is that I will never vote this year for any kind of an increase. Whether or not I'm supported, that's another thing. Council's got their own way of whether or not they want to do it. But if they want to find it to come to a zero, to have a zero increase, I think it's achievable. I think it would have been a lot easier doing it without having, if we would have spent that $1.4 million in buyouts and lawyers and between staff and senior management. I think it's important that somebody got to get a handle on this thing, because if they don't, it's only a start.
All right, thank you very much.